So I didn't grow up in a Christian home, but me and my family, we went to church when I was a kid. I was in church until I was about 14. We went regularly every Sunday. We stopped going to the church that we were at because there was some issues within our little church. And so from about 14 to 22, I was, I guess, believing in God, but I was by no means a follower. So when I was 22, I started dating this guy that I worked with. He was an atheist. And I remember we were sitting one time and we were talking, and he asked me, "Why do you believe in God?" And that question really struck me as kind of odd because no one had ever asked me that before. And I remember thinking, why do I believe in God? This omnipresent, imaginary thing in the sky, that doesn't exist. And so he started showing me all these videos of atheists talking and all of these atheist books. And I started reading all of them and watching all of these videos. And I remember thinking, this actually makes a lot of sense. And so I claimed to be an atheist for a while. And I remember I was at work and this guy came up to me and he said, "Hey, I heard you're an atheist." And I was like, that's kind of odd. And so we got into these big, long discussions at work about what the Bible is and what's in the Bible. And I would ask him all of these crazy questions to try to stump him. And he was extremely patient with me. And he told me his testimony, and he told me that God had pulled him out of it. And I'm thinking, there's no way that happened. That's not even a real thing. And he eventually asked me to go to church with him. And I remember thinking when he said that, there's no way. He's asking me out on a date. He's hitting on me. That's super weird. And he was very persistent about it. And so I finally decided, okay, I'll go. It eventually came to the point where I broke up with the guy that I was dating, and I kept going to Unite. And I remember one Friday sitting in the audience, and Chris was talking about, what is your hope in? What do you believe in? All the tough questions, like where do you think you go after you die? All these things. And I remember sitting there and I was thinking, this was pretty much written for me. And so I sat there and I started thinking about what Chris was saying. And I remember just being completely shocked that all these things were being said and that it was exactly what I was struggling with. And I remember breaking down and just crying in the seat. And I said to God, I said, if you're real, show yourself to me. Now's your chance. And he showed up in a huge way. He basically said, "You're my child and I love you no matter what." And ever since that moment, I just felt like I was just completely wrapped in love. And eventually the guy that asked me to come to Unite in the first place, we started dating. And honestly, it was great at first, but then I lost all of my friends when I started following Jesus. The regular people that I hung out with before weren't interested in coming to church with me. They didn't care to hear about Jesus or the awesome things that were happening in my life. And I basically only had the guy I was dating. That continued on for a few years. We eventually got engaged. And I mean, we were happy in our relationship, but we had no community. We had no one to share in our happiness. We kept going to Unite. We were a part of that, and we would go and then we would leave, and that was it. We got married, and after we got married, things got a little bit better. We were married for 2 years, and we decided that we were going to become Unite leaders. That was probably the best decision we've ever made, getting really involved in Unite and just being a part of that community. The big turning point for me was when I joined a life group. The life group that I'm in, I have an awesome group of friends that support me and love me and care about me through all parts of my life. And I'm just so incredibly thankful to have them. And if I was to talk to someone that is in the same situation as me, I would just say to join a life group. I know it's scary and I know that it can be really hard, but if you don't put yourself out there, you're never going to find those people that are truly going to care about you. And I think that's honestly what God wants for all of our lives. My name is Nicole DeBelfe, and I am Metro.